Sunday afternoon footy. Not so fun if you don't own Tommy Trbojevic. God, he was amazing. There's not much else we can say about Tommy. He's just playing as good or probably better than he ever has before, and we really need to see him on the park for the next 10 years. He's just so special to watch, and if there's any injury to Mr. Tedesco, then Tommy would be straight in. But I think you've got to play him anyway in some way or form in the Origin, probably in the centres. But he's incredible, and since he's come back to this team, they are completely different. What were they, like a 15th best team in the comp, and now they'd be rivaling the top 4 or 5. So amazing work for Tommy with 100 points. So it's good to see that when he does have a real special game, he can get up to that 100 mark and not around that like 60 to 70. Tommy in the past has been like a 5th best wing fullback, averaging like that high 40s kind of thing, and obviously averaging 70 at the moment. I wouldn't expect that forever, but he's just in anything that goes right for Manly, he's there. So amazing work from him, and that caused me to lose a bunch of ranks, obviously, with Tommy being very heavily owned in NRL fantasy. But plenty of points in this game, or 70 points. Tohu Harris comes in with a try and a try assist and just keeps delivering for us. 66.6 average for a 73 this week, 42 tackles, 90 metres, and a bit of attacking stats. So well done to him. And Cody comes in with a great score again, and he's averaging 55 for the year, which is really incredible. And him moving to play a little bit of 9 in there didn't really make too much of a difference with Walsh coming on. Cody still played great. Obviously, kicks some goals, a couple of try assists, gets his tackles, his run meters, just does a bit of everything, which gets him up to that normal 55 average. So well done to him, and good to see Harris Tavita come back and have a good game as well with a couple of tries and plenty of running meters. So yeah, it doesn't look like he's hampered by his injury in any case, and he actually came back a lot earlier than we thought. He was going to be like a 12-week injury, and comes back sort of like 3 or 4 or 5 rounds early. So good work for him. Jason Sahab, here he is, 3 tries, 62. You see how good he's gone the last few weeks, and he's still averaging 24.3. So he's finally making some cash for anyone who's just held on tight to him, and kind of worked out all right over the last few weeks that he started scoring well when we've had Pap out, Mom, Teddy out for a week, that kind of stuff. So well done to anyone who owns Saab, and you'll see a couple of nice price rises coming into the next few weeks, and you might be able to sell him for a profit, which would be cool. Daly with a 60, so solid score. Happy with that if you're owning him. Really interesting one to think about over the next bunch of weeks. He should be playing Origin, should be the number 7 for the Maroons, but in around 14 or around 15, something like that, he could be a really strong half option. Although we've already got a lot of really good options in our halves, so I wouldn't be thinking about him too much. But a lot of people were asking me if they should trade him last week. Just remember, he's up and down. He'll get a 40, he'll get an 80. He's got the 60 this week. He's still averaging just under what he did last year, so I wouldn't stress too much with Daly. Jake Trbojevic is back with a few good scores in a row. The 60 last week, 56 this week. Really happy with his output there. I think just getting a little bit more involved, running the ball a bit more, and with them playing better, he's scoring a lot better too. So I'm happy with that. And again, he could be someone to target after that first Origin, or maybe it's if he can keep keeping that lower price around that 600 mark, you can get him at the back end of the year as like a 17th, 18th man kind of player who's going to average around that 50 mark. He'd be solid there in that kind of role. All right, Joshy Curran gains 56k this week with a 56 score, averaging 51.5 over 4 weeks. And you see he only takes 4 weeks and he's gained 203k. A bit sad this one for my actual team that I didn't pick him up, because he's someone I was really tempted to start with at the beginning of the year, and he didn't even get a bench spot. So comes in a bit later. I just thought he wasn't ready. Well, it wasn't the right time for me to bring him into the team with Origin coming up and stuff. So. But for those who brought him in, you've really benefited with a 51 average. Well done. If you picked him up last few weeks, I think he's probably getting a little bit too expensive now to pick up before Origin, with what we got 10, 11, 12 before they have their bye round, for example. So only 3 games to go, and a lot of people will probably trade him out then. So I'd be thinking about holding off on that. Lockie Croker with 48. If you still hold on to him, he's up another 15k. He's 500k now. Who would have thought that at the start of the season? We got Kepi, Garrick, and Schuster. So Schuster with 38. So a little bit of a lower game. Did get a line break too. So to have that and still not score very well is a bit annoying. But 71 meters for him, I don't think is enough. He should be up over 100 meters with his type of skill set. But to make 300k off him across the season is great, but he's kind of peaked in his price with that 38 now, so he'll have to get back to a couple of 50 scores for his price to start moving again. So just think about that with him. I think we just got to watch and see over the next few weeks as to how he plays, and if he gets back to those consistent 50-point scores, then I think you can keep holding him through the Origin period. But if he has a bunch more around that high 30s to 40, then he could be a good candidate to upgrade or downgrade come round 13. So just keep that in mind with Schuster. Who else we got there that's interesting? Olakau'atu with 31 in his 68 minutes. So just not good enough. And if you brought him in to make a fair bit of cash, you're kind of getting closer to a peak now, unfortunately. Might get him to about 400k or so, unless he has a big game following this one here. So just not enough points in his 68 minutes there. Armour with 27 and Tavanga with 26. So two guys that I think are really ready to get out of your squads. They're not playing round 13. They're both losing money now. So Armour neg 23 and Tavanga 38. So what about the fall from grace from Jazz? After a lot of people picked him up and then two really low scores and low minutes. So we get on to my favourite player, Roger. No, he kind of killed my rankings as well. It was a mixture of Tommy Trbojevic getting 100 and Roger getting 24. It was just like, what are you doing to me? Yeah, finally lost ranks this week. Bit of a sad one. So Roger with 24, just not a lot there. 4 missed tackles, 2 errors, penalty. Yeah, that's neg 14 there to go along with his 200 meters, 3 tackle breaks, couple offloads. So just a very plain, normal game without too much happening for him, unfortunately. But again, you take the good with the bad. Some people will probably look to trade him out in round 13, but he's someone you just got to hold the whole time as he's averaging 50 now with that low score. And he's going to be a lock in your team, one of the top sort of 5 to 7 wing fullbacks. I just don't feel like it's worth trading out. Maybe if he's you have a bunch of trades left over in the back, like after sort of round 18, 19, you could think about trading him, but I think you're just going to hold steady until then. Reece Walsh comes off the bench and still scores pretty well. Was on like -3 for a good portion, like his first 8 minutes or something with a few missed tackles, and then comes in with a try and a try assist. So well done to Reece for being able to come on and score still. But that 23 you're not very happy with, and him off the bench. And Brownie did come out and say that he thinks he used him wrong, so you might be able to get more minutes from him going forward, and that's good signs, I think. After him getting dropped to the bench, you're kind of worried about that. But it'll be interesting to see how they use him going forward, and where's he going to sit? Because Chanel and Cody had decent games. Obviously, they still lost the game, which might mean something, and I think they're happier with how Walsh played when he came on. So keep an eye on that in the team list this week, and we'll go from there. But other than that, not too much to talk about. A couple of easy examples is Kossi and also Berry with 15 and 10. And this is what can happen with those wing fullbacks and the centres, is if they're fairly new to the game, like we saw with Sini, Musgrove, these kind of guys, it's very hard to become a really good cash cow in the wing fullback and centres. And that's what luckily this year we haven't had to do that too much, apart from guys like Roberts. But we've been lucky with Opacek and Bird and these kind of guys that have been solid. But in general, the wing fullbacks and the centres are a bit of an issue usually. So that's that one there. And then we move to the Dragons game, and they obviously beat the Dogs pretty comfortably, which is good for them. And if you held on to Dufty, you were rewarded with a couple of tries and 12 tackle breaks. So 12 tackle breaks, 238 metres. So awesome work for him. Luke Thompson, here it is. This was a real big one. He was on there the whole 68 minutes there, and was just over a point a minute the whole time. And really, really like his efforts there. And you're getting him at a very nice discount if he's going to continue averaging somewhere in the mid-50s. Mid-50s average there puts him about 100k undervalued, which is great, and would also be a keeper in the mids. So Dogs is an interesting one with them obviously not playing the round 13 bye. But if he can keep this up, it won't be too expensive by then. But if he can have a few lower games around that 50-ish mark, then we might be able to pick him up at a slight discount if he's going to continue playing big minutes like this, because he was awesome. PV, Paul Vaughan to 66 with a try. So again, he's that up and down kind of scorer when he gets a try or some attacking stats. Renewed for Tony. So he's someone that's actually done really well. And I've had a few people talking about him as being a possible pickup, and he's way too expensive now to pick up. I think if you were onto him earlier in the season and you're like, yeah, this guy's actually, big motor, working well, getting some good minutes, then you could have picked him up around in the 300s, like 380, 390, I'd say. But now he's at 526. He's not going to be a keeper, right? Yes, he scored a try and had a really, really good game, but he's averaging 42. So think about that. He's not. He's had 3 really good weeks in a row, but after that, yeah, he wasn't that great before. Yes, the bigger minutes is going to help him, but how much more improvement does he have? I don't think there's much there. Benny Hunt, it was good to see him come back. His one's going to be: is he going to be playing Origin? Dragons don't play. Dragons play in round 13, so if he's not playing Origin, you get him at a nice discount there as to what he was scoring at the start of the year in the high 60s and 70s. A few people picked him up before he got injured, unfortunately, and I'd expect scores like that continuing going forward. Somewhere in the 60s, I think, is very safe for especially a half in this type of game this year. With the extra kick meters, a lot of them are running a lot more. You see 130 meters there for Ben. If he continues that with some tackle breaks and some offloads, and then gets a try assist, etc., then he's going to be a really good option in your half position. But again, what we've noticed is there's so many great halves at the moment, and yeah, you can pick other ones like a Fogs or a Moses, as these types of guys before Ben Hunt, I'd say. Corey Norman with a decent score again, averaging 52, so pretty solid. McCulloch got spelled a little bit early, but still getting a 53. I probably wouldn't stress too much about McCulloch's lower minutes. I suppose he's played 80 every week, really, so might have been a smart game when they're up winning to get him off there. But he's really good in that sense of getting a cheeky try assist in there just to help bolster his scores if they're attacking. He isn't able to get that sort of 55 to 60 tackles that we're kind of used to, and yeah, you got that 53 there this week. But again, averaging 59, I'd imagine he goes back to 80 minutes when they're closer games or they're behind in the scoring to have that solid force through the middle. All right, McGuire's the interesting one we want to talk about. 53 points. He's got 47 tackles and 122 meters. So 59 in base, obviously with some negatives in there. But for him, if he's going to continue getting 70 plus minutes, he's going to average what he did at the Cowboys last year, which was like a mid 50s average. He did have the middle and the second row combination last year and the year before possibly, but this year just a mid. Is he going to be in that top tier of mids? That's kind of the question you want to ask yourself. Because me personally, I'm like, well, if you pick him up now, you're obviously picking him up through that first buy period, through the first buy. But then do you try to move him on a bit later? That's going to be the question. The second question is he going to be playing Origin? Because he had last year, he didn't get picked. A few people talking about like how Greeny loves him as a coach, like a coach to play a combination there, and yeah, that could be part of it. And if he continues to play like he is now, he's obviously playing pretty well. He finally got a win, by the way. Good on you, McGuire. Congrats, mate. But he could play Origin too, so I'd be worried about that. And I don't actually think he's a keeper. Like 53, 54, 55 average is solid, but there's better options out there when you're looking at Payne Haas and these type of animals out there. Mids, Toe Harris, etc. So that's McGuire. Bird come back with a really good game after like a low 30 score with 50 there, try assists, a couple of line break assists, 4 offloads, 4 tackle breaks. If you're doing that every game, you're gonna score well, even if you're not scoring tries. So Bird definitely a keeper in your centers, and you get him at a nice discount at 490k. I think as a discount there for the majority of centers who are in that mid 500s, you can pick him up as someone who's not going to play Origin. It's good to see he's had 9 games or 8. I think he's played 8 games without any form of an injury. So that's that one there. Matty Fagai picked up a try. Good first game for him. Unfortunately, he did pick up a solid injury, which looks like possibly syndesmosis. That didn't look very good under that tackle there. But yeah, unfortunate for him there. Tarek Sims comes on and gets 48. Solid for him. So we don't really need to talk about that one. Flanagan gets hooked after 60 minutes. So not happy. Coach not happy with what he's seeing. If you've got him at the moment, I'd be a bit worried in terms of his scoring going forward in general. Elliott with 39, and he's now lost 51k for the year, which is incredible after how good he started, and everyone was like, "Yep, keeper." So the fall from grace, and just another lesson of what can happen if you're not a clear-cut keeper. You see what's happened with Taumalolo the other day. He's had a bunch of bad weeks, but it was always like, yeah, well, this is great. We get him a lot cheaper, and we can pick him up a bit later. Same with what Tedesco's doing at the moment. This is just a little tough patch for him. If you look at his price over a season, he'll get up to like 900k. He'll get down to 650, 700, and then he'll fluctuate between the 7s and 800s there. So just think about that with someone with those types of players. And for Elliott, unfortunately, big fluctuation up and then a big one down too. So if you haven't traded him out yet, it's probably a good time to before he loses any more cash. Fui 37 in the centres, so that was solid enough, and be interesting to see if he keeps playing there. And if he does, you know, losing 7k. If he keeps in that 37, he'll hold his price / improve it slightly. So just think about that. If you need to get rid of him, you can. If not, you can hold till round 13. Now he's got what 4 rounds. You got to get through 3 more rounds to get him to 13. So if you can do that, sweet. If not, all good as well. Now my upsetting one here. Well, we'll talk about Fade Guy Maxi first. So a couple of people might have picked him up, made a tiny bit of cash. 33 again. With only 68 meters, which is pretty cool. You'll take that every day of the week. Alvaro with 31 in 23 minutes. So his PPM's incredible. 2 turnover tackles. Doing a great job. What is with these bench forwards and getting 20 minutes? What happened to the good old days when your bench forward had 40 minutes, and if they were good enough, obviously in points per minute in fantasy, they could get a 40 and make you a crap load of cash. We got Spencer, we got Alvaro, we got Farmasili, what he was doing there. Stefano can get his low minute games as well, so it's a bit annoying, unfortunately. But again, I'm probably down 10k now. If something comes up, I can trade him, but I don't if nothing substantial comes up in terms of a cash cow or whatever, then I'll just hold on to him. Averillo with the lowest score this week, and he was like 25 in about 30 minutes, and then kind of just sat there the rest of the game. Didn't really have many negatives, just didn't do a lot of work. So that's that there, but you can still keep playing him in your centers. I think he's been really solid. And who else we got there? Brad Dietz with 18. Allen with 18. He's had a beautiful year of 25 points a game. Hopewadi 22. All a pain in the ass at the moment. So they're the 2 games and sort of our weekly wrap. What kind of lessons did you learn over this weekend, guys? There's obviously a bunch of really low scores, and these are the more popular guys. And if you had a team of a lot of point of difference players this week, you obviously saw Foggs, Dewey. Trbojevic is not a point of difference one anymore, but all the guys like Crichton, even like Joey Manu, these types of guys that had lower scores, RTS, Laurie, all those kind of guys with the lower scores. If you went away from a lot of the popular ones, then you had a really good week, but I doubt that means you have been doing well before this. So I don't know, whatever you take from that. But that's the wrap for this weekend. For this weekend games of footy, guys. Round 9's in the books. We're moving to round 10, so that's come around pretty quick. Let me know how your team's set up at the moment, how many trades you got left, and what you're planning to do from here coming into the buys. As we're getting a lot closer now. 3 more weeks, 10, 11, 12 before we have round 13, and I'd be suggesting to save a bunch of trades over this next few weeks if you can. We should have Pat, Mom, these types of guys back to bolster the squad. Looks like we might lose Fafita for a game, so keep that in mind when you're making trades this week. And we'll catch you in the next one, guys. Have a great day.